Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, if you were able to give yourself a grade as to your performance in the Department of Labor's performance during the COVID-19 era, what grade would you give it?
I'm not going to give myself a grade.
Okay, how about your department?
A. Want $37 billion to 1.6 million claimants. $37 billion to 1.6 million claimants.
What percentage of the claimants that have legitimate claims, not the ones who have been disqualified, what percentage of the claimants that applied for unemployment benefits are still lingering out there with unpaid claims?
Well, if they're lingering, then by law, they are not eligible yet. That's just the case. I mean, the stat that it's been referenced a lot, especially early on, is that 97% of monetarily eligible claimants received their benefits. And the 3% were folks who had non-monetary issues. Their employer contested, something else, they had a voluntary quit, whatever it was. But if you've been determined eligible by us, and that week you are eligible, you have received your payment or your ability to certify.
So, as Senator Lagana said when he was here, over the course of the last 2 years, our legislative offices have essentially become satellite offices for the Department of Labor. And while your department has issued some guidance to our office staff, there are still multiple remaining questions that I have that are outstanding that I'm hoping that you'll be able to help us with, and that's why you're here today. What is the best way to tell a constituent who first reached out to our office months ago that although we have reached out to your department and followed up numerous times on their behalf with phone calls, with emails, and yet we have not received a single response or update in their case?
Senator, I'm certainly able to look at specific cases you have to give you a response on each single one. Very rarely is there a single answer for all of them. But we obviously are clearing cases every single day that come from your offices, every single day.
I'm not disputing that you're hearing cases every single day, and quite frankly, those are words, and we're about action at this point. I mean, this has been 2 years, and I can tell you this much. When I get on the phone with my constituents, they see us as united, the Department of Labor and our legislative office. They see us as the government. And I can tell you they're not really happy when myself, Assemblyman Simonson, or Assemblyman McClellan, and I'm sure my fellow legislators will tell you that they're not happy with us when we get on the phone, because they're saying, hey, look, I'm worried about whether I can put food on my table next week. Most New Jerseyans, as you're well aware, live paycheck to paycheck. With rising gas costs, rising food costs, and then waiting weeks upon weeks for unemployment benefits, they're struggling. We have people who are crying on our telephone. And I can tell you that the constituents who are pretty educated, and many of them are, they know that your employees never missed a paycheck during the pandemic, and they're saying, why am I not getting my benefits that I paid into, that I'm due and owed, and it's 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and I'm still not able to get the money that I'm due and owed, and I'm worried about my grocery bill this week. Do you have an answer for those people?
Absolutely, Senator. I would tell the 45,000 people in your district who received $955 million and the ones who have not, that we're working our butts off every day to get them their money if they're eligible. But unfortunately, as I said earlier, 20% of the claimants who come through our doors are not eligible. So if you'd like to propose some kind of system where we pay ineligible workers, let's go.
Listen, I'm not looking, listen, that's snarky. And I'm going to call you on that, Commissioner. Okay. I'm going to call you on that because, listen, I don't want anybody to get benefits that they're not due and owed at all. That's not what we're here for. We're talking about the people that paid into a system that are waiting. Well, this is 2 years. This is 2 years. I'm going to ask you another question. Do you think the Department of Labor, do you think those are essential workers?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That's why I've been working every single day.
Not in person. Not in person. So, when you talk about a system, I know a system that will work because there's some really complex cases out there that you and I are well aware of. You can give all the statistics that you want. I'm talking about people. I'm talking about constituents. I know Senator Ruiz was talking about constituents, people that are calling her, calling my office, about feeding their families. I don't want people getting paid benefits that they're not owed. That's ridiculous. That's not what we're here to talk about.
Okay.
The one-stop centers. Look, we were in our offices, in our Senate offices, and in the Senate chamber with, quite frankly, what I thought were ridiculous plexiglass partitions. People with complex cases could have been met in person with every single measure taken, from CDC guidelines, plexiglass, mask, double mask, testing, whatever you wanted. Why wasn't that done?
Again, Senator, our goal and motto has been from day one, most benefits paid to the most claimants in the shortest amount of time. And every single decision we've made was always based on those three factors, every single one.
In your opinion, would it be acceptable if I told my Senate office staff that they no longer have to open, acknowledge, or answer emails from constituents, other legislators, or even the governor's office?
I'm sorry, what was the first part of the question?
Would it be acceptable if I told my Senate office staff that it was okay for them not to answer emails, answer phone calls, whether it was be from constituents or the office of the governor?
No.
Okay. You're aware, and you've heard it earlier today, that multiple emails that we've sent to your office, to your employees, that have gone completely unanswered. You're aware of that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What would you do if you found out that your staff had completely stopped communicating to legislative office who reach out on behalf of constituents seeking help?
I would be surprised. Senator, we're clearing cases from your district every single day.
I can provide you quite literally with hundreds of unanswered emails from legislative staff to your employees that have gone unanswered, and through the chair, I will be glad to provide them to you if you'd like.
Thank you, Senator.
So it's been 2 years since Governor Murphy's 2 weeks to flatten the curve. It was at this time when state government was told to work from home. Naturally, this took some adjustment. Some employees and departments were very successful in this, and some weren't. Are all of your employees of the Department of Labor back working in person?
Yes, except for those construction, as I mentioned earlier, and until the 28th at the folks at the One Stop and UI Services.
Now, with the complex cases, and obviously those complex cases that are lingering for weeks and weeks, is it still your testimony here today that it's better for them to call in and try to have their cases handled online?
We'll call in or online, which one?
Either one.
Yes, calling is always the most efficient way. There's no doubt about it. Okay. Again, and just to your earlier point, Senator, I just want to repeat that in 2019, each one of our agents dealt with about 4,500 claimants. In 2020, 9,600 claimants. Every one of our staff was as efficient as they could possibly be. And I just want to make sure that I'm on the record on saying that again.
Well, I understand your answer, but, Chairman Senator Madden had a really good point. In the past 2 years, we had quite a bit of money available to the Department of Labor. So maybe your staff was working at capacity. I'm not here to judge that. You certainly could have hired more workers, correct?
As could every employer in the country, quite frankly. And we're, again, postings every single day from day one. We're still hiring, more than doubled our staff, and still bringing in more people every single day.
What was the last date that Department of Labor workers were working from home?
Yeah, in general, the whole department. It was the
folks who were handling
I think they went to hybrid, right? We went to hybrid, and the State Department went to hybrid last June or July, whenever it was, and then October, whatever that date was, we were one of the first 3 departments to come back. So
for the more complex cases, why couldn't they start handling in person appointments, just like the Motor Vehicle Commission. Motor Vehicle Commission is not open. Earlier you said it's open. It's open for in-person appointment only. Why couldn't the Department of Labor have a similar system?
Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but most people, most benefits, quickest time, guided every decision. And again, the complicated claims are exactly the ones that are never dealt with in person. Our appeals units, our adjudications units, they have never been in person ever. I don't even think back in 2020. I don't even think back in 2000.
Over the last 2 years, one of my Senate colleagues has sent a number of requests pursuant to the Open Public Records Act to your department. A majority of these requests were ignored, and because that information has not been provided, both the public and the legislature have been left in the dark while this unemployment debacle has played out. So I'm hoping that you can help us and the public better understand the department's efforts. We have heard from a very reliable source who spoke with someone at the department during a call about their claim that employees are working from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. We also have numerous constituents who have gotten calls from the department after normal business hours. What are the current hours that unemployment agents are working, and is overtime being paid to them?
I have to get back to you with exact numbers, and just to be clear, we don't ever not respond to an open request, so we're not being ignored. But I would imagine that varies by the different units. As I said before, there's all different kinds of units in UI and across the board. They're all working, there are different schedules for all of them, but they're certainly working long beyond the regular 9 to 5.
If you could provide that information to the chair, I'd greatly appreciate that. Also, with my next question, how much has the department paid in overtime to its employees? If you could provide that to the chair as well. I'm assuming you don't have that.
I do not, but I will absolutely provide it to the chair.
Over the last 2 years, how many new unemployment agents and other related staff have been hired by the Department of Labor specifically to handle UI claims?
Just quick math, hold on. A little over 1,000. That doesn't include the times we had other state staff transferred over to UI from other agencies. That's new employees.
1 week ago today, under the leadership of Senate President Scutari and Chairman Madden, the Senate unanimously passed a resolution. This resolution was sponsored or co-sponsored by all 40 members of the Senate and came with a request that your department provide to the legislature a report consisting of unemployment statistics, including the number of people waiting for unemployment claims, the average length of time that it takes for unemployment claims to be completed, how much money has been paid out in unemployment claims, the number of employees currently working on unemployment claims, the average time each employee spends on each claim, and any other statistics deemed relevant by the Commissioner of Labor and Workforce Development within 30 days of passage of the resolution. So I ask you today, Mr. Commissioner, for the record, will you provide the legislature with the requested information by the 2nd of April?
First of all, most of the stats are available publicly on U.S. Department of Labor, but the answer is yes, and I would have provided them without the resolution. I think the one stat that might not be is the amount of time each agent spends on a claim. I don't know if that's something that is... Because, I guess we know how much each agent spends on the claims they're working on, but that claim might be going to different units here and there, so I don't know if we can combine all that into one.
I want to ask you some questions about the contracted call center that you had. And when the department brought the contracted call center on board to help with the volume of incoming calls, where were the employees of the contracted company located?
I don't know.
Do you know whether they were within the state of New Jersey?
I'm sure some of them were.
Do you know if the company employed all New Jersey residents, or were they outside of the state of New Jersey?
Definitely outside of the state as well.
Okay. So let me get this straight. During New Jersey's largest unemployment crisis, at least in my lifetime, the Department of Labor contracted with a call center that did not employ 100% New Jersey residents?
Again, the hiring difficulties have been mentioned many times in this hearing and every other hearing.
Could you provide us with a number how much your department has paid the contracted call center?
Absolutely.
Through the chair?
Absolutely.
Okay. Was this a contract that was bid on?
Yes, through whatever the emergency procurement was at the time. Absolutely, there were bids.
Okay. Senate Majority Leader Ruiz and I have a number of issues on which we typically disagree. However, last week in her floor speech prior to our vote on Senate Resolution 66, she said something with which I could not agree more. And I quote, "People want to see a person. People want to see effective and efficiency in government. When they are hurting, they want to see someone step in." End quote. Mr. Commissioner, I can promise you, and this echoes Senator Bucco and his comments, I can promise you without a shadow of doubt in my mind that people in New Jersey want to be able to walk into a one-stop center and get help with their unemployment claim. Your department has a long list of dates announced and has rescinded these centers opening. And when they finally opened, they didn't have unemployment services. And you said they haven't provided unemployment services for a couple decades at this point, in person. I really don't understand why this, and I know you said this is the most efficient way, calls and handling it by the computer system, which, by the way, I have to tell you, the ID.me system was very difficult for many of my constituents to navigate. But you're telling me that there's, how many employees that are going to be hired at the one-stops? 30?
They're already on staff. They're not new employees.
You said there was, what was it, 32?
32.
So 32. Why couldn't they have been handling the most difficult cases in person? I mean, and I don't want to hear a number about efficiency. These are still real people. That even if they're handling 5, 10 claims a day, that's 5 to 10 more people that are getting their claims resolved or being told, hey, listen, you don't deserve benefits.
But see, that's where the math doesn't work, because that's not 5 or 10 more people a day that'd be getting resolved. That's 20 people less a day, because those folks would be in person handling less cases.
So it comes down to simple math.
I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying your math there was incorrect. And none of this is simple. None of it.
Do you agree with me that most people want to see a person? Because I can tell you, my staff has been working around the clock, and 2 weeks ago, I can tell you one of my staffers had to make an appointment with someone at 7 p.m. I, of course, was there to make sure everything was okay, to go through the ID.me process. I mean, again, I just find it odd, and I'm sure my colleagues share in my sentiment, that we as legislators are handling a job that we know is really for the Department of Labor. I love helping my constituents, but this has been 2 years that I know myself and my staff are saying, hey, wait a minute, why are we doing this job? And I'm thankful that I see Senator Lagana shaking his head and Senator Zwicker, because it's true. I mean, do you think that's fair that legislative offices are working like this in that manner for 2 years?
No.
I have a few more questions, and I thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chair. I bored him, apparently. He's not here now. So we have heard from a number of constituents who have received overpayments or benefits in error. It's now tax season. Has your department issued any guidance for these New Jerseyans? Because I can tell you the few calls that I've fielded, they're being told by their accountant or whoever is preparing their taxes that they need to get information from the Department of Labor.
I'm going to throw my assistant commissioner a second on this, because he knows more than I do. But another complication of federal law, not even Department of Labor, is IRS. Because even if, in the overpayment example earlier, right, you had this, and I'll get to your answer for a second, Senator. When you have your original claim, you close it out, so we're backdating it. Now you're getting a new claim. their 1099s are going to have the total amount of their original claim and of their new backdated claim, because the IRS says we have to, and they have to take care of it themselves on their the taxes when they submit. So we advise folks to talk to their accountant, to talk to their tax preparer, but a lot of the IRS stuff is out of our hands. All we can do is prepare the 1099s that we're able, or we're mandated to by law. But Ron, you had some point about 1099. How does somebody get a new 1099, or how does somebody get a revised 1099?
They get it. Number one, if you filed a claim online, you would have been sent a email giving you the information about 1099 and saying if you want to go onto their system, you can get the hard copy from there. If an individual did not get a 1099, they call up our call center. Our call center takes their name and an address, make sure we have the right address for them. And then what we will do is once a week, we will mail out to them their 1099 for 2021.
It's also one of the answers from earlier that I forgot about how someone can get quicker service, or one of the quick things that happens, you call the call center.
I appreciate that. I mean, just because, again, the overpayment's an issue for people who are filing their taxes and they're calling my office now.
Oh, yeah. We would love to be able to send them 1099s to only have their net amount they got from us.
Where does the state of New Jersey rank currently regarding unemployment rate?
I have to check. I don't have that with me today, but I know our new numbers are coming out next week, so I'll have a better answer for you next week. Every year we benchmark the prior year's numbers and then do January, February in March, so I'll have a much better answer for you next week.
You stated earlier on in your testimony, before any of us asked you questions, that it's part of your department's job to help businesses flourish. As we know, during the COVID-19 era in the state of New Jersey, 1/3 of all small businesses have closed. And my understanding is from the numbers, and correct me if I'm wrong, 2/3 of those businesses say that they're in danger. 2/3 of the existing businesses left are in danger of closing their doors. What is the department doing to ensure that we don't suffer more of an economic crisis?
Absolutely. Senator, I think that you would agree that the thing we heard most from employers the past year or two was we need to find workers, right? So that's why that part of our one-stops has been open nonstop since the beginning of the pandemic. We've served 500,000 customers in that form or fashion. We've been connecting employers with folks who are coming to the one-stops for career services to get them the job. I was just down at the one-stop by your office a couple weeks ago in Wildwood. I'm not sure. Actually, I don't know where your office is, but I was out in Rio Grande. And I was there, and the staff was so excited about it. They just connected with some manufacturing company. They were setting setting customers up to go over there. Our workforce services are top of the line here in this state, and they're super collaborative. Even though the workforce system is broken up into counties, they work very closely together. The day I was there, they were getting referrals from the Bergen County One Stop in Hackensack, from a company that just opened up an office somewhere near Vineland. So we're working nonstop to connect employers with qualified employees to help them with their bottom line. And also, very importantly, we have all kinds of programs to help not just get employees to the job, but also to help employers with costs. So we have wage reimbursement up to $10,000 per individual if they're getting a certain kind of training program, or they're getting on-the-job training. You heard about the Return and Earn program that we started. We had a little bit of a bonus for the worker, but more importantly, have the employer receive up to $10,000 per employee in wages.
So do you then support Senator Bucco's bill to use federal money to bring the unemployment trust fund back to its pre-COVID levels?
I'm sorry, I thought you were asking about workers. Can you repeat the question?
There's a bill. Senator Bucco has a bill to use federal money to bring the unemployment trust fund back to its pre-COVID levels. Do you support that?
We don't comment on legislation. Prior, I'll let this for someone above my pay grade. But we are concerned about workers at all points in time.
A couple more questions. Thank you for your indulgence, Chairman. You earlier described the process as sometimes confusing and tedious, and I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth with that. And I'm here to tell you that's exactly why people need face-to-face help, because I know everyone around this table this dais has had their employees walking their constituents through that process. And I can tell you, we've met with our constituents in person during this entire process, probably starting in, I'd say, May or June of 2020. And they're very thankful. And then when we tell them, listen, we're willing to help you, but we're not the Department of Labor, they're confused. They really are. And they're saying, well, why can't I go? And Vineland has a one-stop. They're asking me, why can't I go to the one-stop? And I can tell you, I try not to throw your department under the bus. But it's hard. It's hard because I say, look, you're meeting with me. We're trying to get it done. And they're saying, why is this taking me 8 weeks? Why is it taking 10 weeks? How come I tried and I put in a wrong number, apparently, and now I'm blocked from doing it, and now it's taking your staff all of this help? I mean, I really think this has to be done in person. And I understand that you're saying the math and the efficiency rates show that it doesn't warrant in person, but I can tell you that people want to see your employees face to face. And if they don't qualify, hey, they don't qualify. That's not what that's about, but it's amazing to me that we're all meeting in this room here today. Our legislative staff and legislators have all been meeting in person. Why can't the Department of Labor meet in person? And I really appreciated Senator Zwicker's idea of mobile Department of Labor, mini centers. And I really liked the Chairman Madden's idea of mega centers in areas. Because I can tell you what, there's still an area, as you know, and I've talked to you on the phone about this, there's areas of Cumberland County and Cape May County that I represent that they don't really have good access to the internet. So if it's not a phone call, it's coming to my office. And I love helping my constituents, but it's not fair to legislative offices to continue to do this after 2 years. And, you testified that the one-stops haven't handled in-person unemployment for 2 decades. But isn't it during this crisis that when people really need to step up and provide services that haven't been provided before? And in-person has to be the way to go. I just can't see that being taken off the table as a legitimate answer to this body. I have one point about misclassification and 2 more questions. Chairman Madden brought up a really phenomenal point that New Jersey's different with their unemployment. New Jerseyans pay into a fund. These are benefits that New Jerseyans have paid for. And I was troubled by the fact that you compared New Jersey to any other state. I was.
Well, just real quick, I'm not trying to compare us to any other state. My point is that this is a national problem.
There's no denying that. But New Jersey's supposed to be a leader. We're special in the state of New Jersey. There's the hashtag Jersey Strong for a reason. We can talk about North and South issues and make fun of each other, but if anybody makes fun of New Jersey, we're united. It's not acceptable to me when I hear we're being compared to other states. We're considered a leader in almost every single realm for years, whether it's our courts, whether it's our economy. I just don't believe that we should be comparing ourselves to anyone, and we should always be striving to be the best. There's a quote, and this is, again, about in-person meetings. There's a quote that I use, 80% of success is just showing up. I think so many people would feel so much more confident about the system if they could see someone just face to face by showing up. Even if they get a no, they'll appreciate it a lot more than if they get it over a computer screen or on the telephone. Senator Madden brought up a phenomenal point that I don't want it to be lost on this body or the media covering here. You're sitting next to you is a box that says 7,119 pages, and it's the USDOL active unemployment regulations. of those regulations were in effect prior to COVID. Am I correct on that?
1,500 of them aren't. Well, they came since COVID.
Okay. How many pages? Was that 1,500 pages? Okay. We've had 2 years to adapt, Commissioner. 2 years. This is my last question about misclassification. In your role as Commissioner of the Department of Labor and Workforce Development, you work with the federal government, obviously. The IRS, a part of our federal government, uses a different test than New Jersey to determine independent contractor status. Would you support New Jersey moving to align our independent contractor test to be in line with the IRS test?
Absolutely not, and there's no better way to make less people eligible for unemployment than using that test. Hands down. And just real quick, Senator, before about Jersey Pride, I have tons of Jersey Pride. I was born here, educated here, raised my family here. I have family from Bergen County, family from Millville, Atlantic City. I love this state almost more than anything else in the entire world. And I am proud of the work that we've done. And I know I'm not making comparisons to other states, but I will tell you this. If you ask folks in the national UI world who work on UI in any other state or in the DC, New Jersey is a leader and continues to be a leader in UI. I just want to make that clear.
Okay. You know, myself and Senator Panaccio held a panel, if you remember, early on during...
Yes, I remember very well.
Early on during COVID. And we had individuals from a company called the Cobalt Cowboys on.
Yeah, was that the guy who couldn't figure out the volume?
Who was from Texas.
Yeah.
Again, there were some very real solutions, I believe, that were provided early on, and it doesn't appear that any of those solutions really have been taken to upgrade the system. And I know this is a system that you inherited, but number one, you had time in this position prior to COVID, and here we are now 2 years in, 2 full years into the COVID-19 era, as I'll call it. And there still hasn't been major upgrades to the system that we all agree needs upgrades. Why is that?
To be clear, there have been upgrades to the system, which has allowed us to process that many claims, and many of them were, struck back by the USDOL. And my point about the states, and I'm not comparing to other states. The point is, many other states have upgraded their systems even within the past year. And their legislators are having the same hearings and the same problems because we're all working with the same broken system. And what we're doing here in New Jersey, in partnership with the U.S. Digital Service, is trying to change the game about how these systems are built, to be user-friendly, to be responsive to testing, to work piece by piece. So I promise you, Senator, when I come back before you next year, at some point, we're going to have great success stories, or on top of those we already have, about our technology. And with all due respect to that hearing, and I appreciate it, and also we heard from employers in your district who had great stories to tell about the difficulties as employers dealing with unemployment, but the gentleman who said he was an expert also said he thought we could be fixing this in 30 days. And that's just preposterous. I don't think he had a strong grip on reality of what can be done with technology with such a high volume, just to be clear. And I promise you that New Jersey will be a leader and is a leader on UI modernization, and will continue to be.